Welcome back. Been getting to grips with the canning. This was the first canning run. We had 6 failures, and Simon and I adjusted the tolerances 3 or 4 times. The only thing was, you got a cap on foam. I think I've mentioned this before. Out of this batch of 24, I'm not convinced there was enough foam on some of them. So some of them I let overflow a little bit and then capped onto, not foam, but onto beer. But we'll see what they're like. There's 24. I can't remember which ones were possibly not on foam. We'll see. So then what I did was I upped the pressure into the tank that pushes the beer through to the canning filler. And it's asymmetric, so the left and the right of the duo filler do not behave the same, so it takes a bit of tweaking, but on such small runs it doesn't really matter. When I start doing from the bright tank, doing 250 odd cans from a bright tank, then that's where it possibly will start to matter. Up the pressure, got some decent foam, got 7. All of the cans, tell you what's in it, the strength, all the normal stuff that you've got to have, but I've numbered each cans and each batch. So the batch is the year, C for canning, and this was the canning run number 2. I don't think I'll be doing more than 999, so I'm going for 3 places for the numbering, and best before July 2024 is kind of like, I just made that up, really. And tells you sort of like what's in it and the address, but the important thing for me is will be the coding on these. So especially once I really start banging them out, like as an example, those 7 there, the labels say, whoops, can 107. I know, but it helps me. This is getting ready for filling the poly kegs. I think I might have shown you this before. Again, just fluid inlet, take the ball out of the S-type connector, gas in, which I'll put a spunding valve on there to let the gas out, because the poly kegs come pre-sanitized and pre-pressurized. So the spunding valve will be to let gas out as I pump beer in. I've started painting the frame. I found a tin of Hammerite black, so I started painting it with Hammerite black, and then run out of that, and then realised that tin was probably about 10 years old. Good stuff, xylene based. Hammerite these days is no longer xylene based, so I had a bit of a wobble about whether or not I could put a second coat on top of, because that's kind of like white spirit based. The new formulation is white spirit based. So was worried that I might have to wait for this to dry and then sand it down, or maybe, oh god, but just painted it straight over. It's fine. Unfortunately, getting down on the floor with my arthritic knees, ankles and hands, I'm just doing odd stages at a time, so I'll finish it off later. And then think about what we're going to do for the top. I was thinking of this worktop stuff, this high pressure laminate called Trespa. It's going to be about 300 quid. So I might just tempted just sand down those scaffy boards, as long as we can clean them somehow. So I don't know, put resin on them or varnish. It's only varnish on here. As long as I can scrub it all down. The caustic does sometimes. This is where I had a little caustic spill. So yeah. So these are the 3 empty corny kegs, which is good because I've run out. I've only got 50, and I'd run out because I've still got 17, 18 upstairs full of cider. So we need to have a cider weekend or something at some point. What else have I been doing? I've been looking at cooling. Now this will handle 6 cooling circuits, or you could have one long circuit and then have solenoid valves. I didn't want to go that route for a number of reasons. So I'll be cooling down these or the Firmzilla, the large Firmzilla. That's actually got the cooling coil in it and a firmer well. The bright tanks and the 1 barrel fermenters. So that's where the 6 come in. This has been fine since recharging it up with gas a month ago, and I'm really pleased. A, because I couldn't afford to lose the 700 quid. B, because I like the people that we bought it from. Really, they were lovely, and I didn't want to feel once and sending them a message and the email bounce and the website not being there, and then all the bad things that go through your mind. Obviously, finding that the live and neutral were reversed on here, I suppose easy enough mistakes are only spade connectors. Anyway, once I'd found out, so I thought he'd said he bought it 2019, but the last time he'd used it was July 2019. So that kind of like then made sense. Recharged it up. I wanted to leave it a while. The guy recharged it, has put this in here just in case it does need recharging again, but it seems to have been fine. Absolutely fine. So, phew. So what I'm going to do in terms of cooling is I'm having these tubes here will be permanently kind of like attached to the cooler, and then there's these quick disconnects, and the reason for that is I can then tuck that out of the way, and when I come to take this out, because this cooling coil in here comes out with the 8-inch tri-clamp top, so I can take that out and there's not going to be a huge length. Don't have to worry about connecting, disconnecting every time. Take that out, wash it, sanitize it. Same with this one. Disconnect, boom, out. And these are the SS Brewtech quick disconnects. I've arranged them so that the cold feed from the glycol cooler goes to the top part of the coil, in here and in here and in these, because you want the cold going in at the top and then coming out back to the cooler. These I've done it the other way around, because the cooling coil's fixed into the fermenter. I've put the quick disco on the end, and that will just be on a short lead from here, so that I don't have too many of these dangling around. So that one's quite long. You'll notice the 3-inch butterfly valve in the top. Go into that in a bit. So I've worked all this out so that I can have along here at any one time the 2 1-barrel fermenters, the 2 bright tanks. We strengthened all of this while Simon was here, so this now will take the weight. Done exactly the same on this one. So again, the disconnect is on the end of the long insulated leads. Thank you. Oh, these are half bloody expensive. You would cry if you realised how expensive they were. So that then, all that can go along there, and we just have temporarily until the building outside, if and when, that will then be our bar. This is taking up too much space, so anyone wants a Keezer, there's a YouTube video of me building this Keezer. Let's put this over here, and just as a temporary measure, I did some silicone hoses just to keep a little bit of top pressure, CO2 top pressure, and then accidentally turned the regulator up and it burst all the silicone hoses. What a twat. Andy Tomlinson will tell you that these, sorry, not Tomlinson, Thomason, I know two Andys. I know an Andrew Tomlinson, who some people will remember from my days with the Land Rover. We had some wheels made. But then there's an Andy Thomason, Four Priest Brewery, will tell you just how stupid it is putting pressure into these silicone hoses. Well, high pressure into those silicone hoses. Obviously you need some pressure in them if you're gonna, yeah, anyway, shut up. So this is for sale, 100 quid, anyone wants it, and if you want the taps and that as well, we can talk about a deal on there. So that's where we're at, where I'm at. As soon as that's finished, I'll start the finishing off. Like I said, so happy now that all this is set up and working. These are the quick disconnects, SS Brewtech quick disconnects, stupidly expensive. This, I'm probably just going to use one side at a time until I get to doing, as I said, large volumes of that. This seems to be working fine. Little tip I got from Johnny at Brewkeg Tap was, don't bother with the shield thing that I bought with it. Instead, just cut down a document wallet, the little plastic document wallet, stick it on there with a bit of insulation tape, and that works fine. It just sprays me now rather than everything else. So good. Feeling a lot more positive about the way things is going. Need to get a couple of brews going. I need to get some of these corny kegs into can. I'll be putting some packs together of either 3 or 4 can. If anyone would like to participate in testing, let me know. I know Stephen Law's on the list for one. He needs to tell me where he lives, unless he's going to come and collect it. But I've no idea. I always thought he's London, but maybe not. So yes, wow. It seems strange that we're kind of like coming up for halfway through November. It does seem to have been a quick year. I was going to tell you about these butterfly. I was wondering about dry hopping. So instead of the normal top on here, I've got these 3-inch butterfly valves. And then I'll put a gas inlet here, CO2 inlet here, and then depending on how much dry hopping I'm going to be needing to put in here, I'll just purge it all with CO2. CO2 is heavier than air, so it'll drop. Purge right up until I can smell, it makes your nose go oof, CO2 coming out of the top. That is only a 2 psi PRV, pressure relief valve. So once all purged, I will just open, give it a shake. That is then dry hopped, and close it again and take this off and put that back on. The only problem with that is that protrudes again across the top, so I've ordered some 10 centimetre things to go on just on there, just so that I can have the normal blow off valve. Right, that's about it. That's my little Friday video. Does look like a chimney, doesn't it? As always, thank you for watching. If you like this rubbish, it'd be nice if you was to subscribe. Just smash the subscribe button, and do the thumbs up thing, would be beautiful. As always, whatever you're doing, you do it carefully. You take care of yourselves, and cheers.
March 13th. During a meeting of SAGE, the government's leading scientific authority on the emerging crisis, one scientist writes in his notebook, "We are not ready." A number 10 advisor leans over to cross out "not ready" and replaces it with the word "fucked."